Hi, welcome to Ripples Rising, empowering voices creating waves of change. Today I'm with fellow Rippler Becca Pearce, who authored the book You Don't Have to Achieve to Be Loved. Escape the lies you've been told to design the life you want. And that book just claimed the International Impact Award winner. Yay, that is huge. International Impact Award. Welcome, Becca.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. I read your book about a month ago, and I think many people are going through changes socially, financially, everything. Everything's kind of in a constant change. And I guess that's the oxymoron. Everything is always a change.
Right.
So, you know, Becca, you wrote your book. What personal experience made you author this book? You don't have to achieve to be loved. What inspired you to write that?
So I think it's really interesting because there are two things that inspired me to write the book in general. And the first is I went through two major life changes within the span of 14 months that caused me to just rethink everything. And one of the things that I completely rethought was this idea that for my entire life, I believed that achievement equaled love. That if I just got the next title or the next, promotion or more money, all of those things meant achievement to me, and therefore that equated to love. And the reason I titled the book You Don't Have to Achieve to Be Loved is because one, it was my core belief that kept me moving forward for 43 years and never thinking about the fact that there was another way to life. And the second reason I titled it that is it makes it, when I mention that, the room goes silent. Everybody in the room stops talking and starts thinking to try and figure out whether they believe that. And it turns out there are a lot of people who also believe that. So that's why I titled it what I did.
And what specific lies do you think that we are just led to believe? How's
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I think that is the second side of the book, right? Escape the lies you've been sold to design the life you want, because the things that we are told our entire lives, if you think about this core belief that, for me, I was sold, I had to achieve to be loved, but there are other things that are just inherent in our society. And if we think about the definition of success or having to keep up with the Joneses, just this thought of what does success actually mean? And in America, the definition of the American dream defines that success is actually fundamentally based on money and wealth. And so is that really true? When it really comes down to it, there was a study done where Americans actually would rather be happy than have more money, but we think that other people think that we're supposed to have money and that's what success is. So it's this conundrum that we're really sold that bigger, better, faster is more.
I think we're on the hamster wheel. We just keep
Yeah.
going and going and going and going and going. And you mentioned two uh, incidences that happened within a 14-month period. Would you mind expanding on that a little bit?
Sure. Absolutely. So in 2011, I was appointed by Governor O'Malley in the state of Maryland to implement Obamacare in the state of Maryland. I could not have believed more in what we were doing. I could not have tried harder to make it work. And in 2013, it didn't turn on the way it was supposed to. The IT system didn't quite turn on the way it was supposed to. And so I lost my job quite publicly.
Mm.
Um, and at the time, that was an identity. I lost my identity. What I didn't realize is that so much of everything that I had been doing had been tied to who I was and the title that I carried and the power that came along with that, which I learned later had nothing to do with me and has everything to do with the title that I held at the time and the role that I played. But I lost my job, like I said, and just, lost my identity at that same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I landed on my feet. But then 14 months later, my daughter would walk up to me and talk into my left ear. And I'd say, you can't talk into mommy's bad ear. You need to talk into mommy's good ear. And I finally, after some prodding, went in for a hearing exam. I'd been going deaf for multiple years and just ignored it.
Mhm.
Went in and found out that I had a brain tumor the size of a golf ball.
Ah!
and needed surgery imminently. And so that shift, those two shifts together were the ones that just really woke me up. And I said, you know what? I didn't listen the first time. I need to listen this time. This is happening. I need to do something about this and change my life.
That's both major, whether it's your job or you physically. And so, whether you have the title like CEO, COO, broker, not just a realtor, but a broker, or, you're at this corporate level and stuff. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of people looking at you and watching you, and
Mhm.
you've got to achieve. And then, but you're leaving your daughter at home.
Yeah. I mean, that was the worst. That is, when I talk about one of the biggest regrets of my life, that time period with the exchange, there were weeks on end that I didn't put my daughter to bed because I was working so late, and I can never get that time back with her, and I can
Never.
never get that time back with my husband, and it's a regret.
See, and actually, right now, my husband and I watch 60 Minutes, and Anderson Cooper just retired from 60 Minutes for that reason, because of his two boys that are growing up like 4 and 6 years old, and he works at CNN, then he does a 60 Minutes, and he's missing the prime time of his little boys growing up, where they won't want to hold his hand going to school someday.
Right.
Right now. Let's move on to part of your book. Is one part of your book that struck me was that friendships can transition, and I've been going through that the last 6 months actually. And in your book, and I'm saying it's okay. It's okay that friends transition, and your social circle, and that was really powerful for me because that's what's going on. And why is that so difficult for people to accept? You think?
Yeah, I feel for you. It's a very painful time period to go through that, and I think it's that whatever that friendship was to you at the time, it was your place. And people want to feel like they belong somewhere. And that piece of time, it served you something, right? It fed you, it gave you a place to feel like you belonged. And when that goes away, it just, it feels like your heart's being ripped out a little bit, I bet. And I think it's just people forget, or it's so hard to recognize at the time that it's okay that you're going to find somebody else, right? That you're going to find a new place for you because it feels like, for me, I'll speak for myself. I felt like I was in middle school all over again. It was like one of those things where, like, I did just see a T-shirt the other day that was so funny, and it said, "Yes, please invite me, even though I'm not coming." Like you don't, you still want to be a part of it, even though you don't really want to be a part of it anymore.
Yeah, personally, and whoever's listening later, I mean, the phones work both ways.
Mm, okay.
And I, it's a personal thing. Does everything bother me? Just about. But, man, if I'm going to call you, I would like to have a return phone call,
Hmm.
not a text. I called you. And this texting, I think, Becca, has just totally taken our communication skills away. Huh?
Hmm.
And you have everything in writing, but there's no emotion, nothing behind it. And I mean, I was on a ride. I ride horses, and my friend got bucked off the other evening. She was like 66 years old, and she might have broken her collarbone. And I called two of my nurse friends. One, I got her voicemail hung up because people don't even listen to their voicemails anymore. I need somebody to talk to. So I called my second nurse friend, sent her pictures, says, yeah, it might be broken. And then what happened? The other nurse friend, she texted me at noon the next afternoon. Did you mean to call me last night? I hope you're having a great weekend. Why don't you call me back? Never mind. Yeah, our friend, our mutual friend, has been hurt, and I'm getting her back home today. So, never mind. Good grief.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, when you as a human feel how you're feeling right now, which is you're not being respected, or I'm going to put words in your mouth, but that's proof that one of your core values of that connectedness of that, return respect is being tromped on, right? That's a core value
Thank
of
you.
yours that is not being met by that person.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, you're right. And so, the close friends I had last year or two are in so close this year. It's a whole new year. In your book, you've got. Can you explain the 1 foot in, 1 foot out phase, and what does that? And maybe that's what I'm dealing with right now. 1 foot in for the and 1 foot out onto other friends, and I am. I'm starting to meet. Maybe the other doors closed and other doors are opening. I'm starting to meet different people to become maybe friends with. Is that what that means?
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point of this phase is that you know that something's not working for you where you are right now, right? That relationship or the relationships, all that where you're not getting the response that you need right now, that doesn't feel good. But the 1 foot in, 1 foot out is that phase where you begin to go, I think I'm ready, but that social tie, that emotional tie that you have to that old friendship is so strong that it keeps pulling you back to the 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because it's so important for humans to have that connected relationship that until you feel confident in that new phase, it's very difficult to let go of that old phase. And so that what marks that 1 foot in, 1 foot out phase where you're like, okay, I know where I want to go, but I'm scared to go there. And so this is easier. It's easier to stay in a relationship that doesn't feel good than it is to find a brand new relationship.
And it's muddy in between.
It is very muddy in between.
Well, so if someone is worried that my current friends won't like the new version of me, what would you tell them? Because we are, yes, I am in that right now. And as soon as me and this friend took off the other day that got hurt, we weren't 1 mile down the road. She says, Jackie, what's going on with you? You're just not the same anymore. Well, yeah, maybe you're spread too thin. I said, okay. I mean,
Mm.
she's real. Okay. But, you know, so
And out of curiosity, was that a good thing or a bad thing that she said that to you?
Oh, kind of both because she know, and I'm telling you because she's well, you've got all these friends, and I mean, she said this months and months ago, but I've realized I don't have all these friends. She's got all these kids, grandkids, great grandkids, all this. I don't have kids. I don't have family except my husband, his family, whatever. And so, yeah, but it stopped me months ago, Becca, because I quit calling and reaching out to people. I quit. I'm tired. I've got other things to go on and do and grow, and
Mhm.
I'm shifting. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. And I forgot the original question. I'm sorry.
but what would your current friends, would your
Oh,
if
if
they
you
don't
so
like
so
me?
I would say this to one of two things. One is my most flippant answer is that they're not your friends anymore.
Oh,
Right? I think that um, there as you are changing, the most important thing you can do is recognize that, like, if your old friends wouldn't aren't going to like you because of it, then they truly, this is my real question answer too. They truly aren't your friends. If they're going to be in a situation where they don't like you because of the new person you're going to be,
right.
then they served you for who you were before. Thank you very much. I appreciate what we had, and it's time for me to move on to someplace where I'm going to feel comfortable all the time,
Yes.
right? Where I don't have to be the one who picks up the phone. I don't have to be this. I don't have to do these things. I don't have to accept lesser than what I think is appropriate or I deserve.
That I deserve. That's right. There is a poem from a long time ago: a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Remember that? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I always related that to my boyfriends. That reason, season, or lifetime. But now I am relating it to my woman friends.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. Um, in your book, you mentioned intrinsic motivation leading to a lasting change. Why do external motivators, like you talk about, the approval, the money, the recognition, um, seem, they have the power, but then later we retire and, you know, we lose that power. So, you know, why do the external motivators often lose power?
I think it's interesting because I think they actually lose power the minute you hit them.
Mm,
So even before you retire, even in your working world where you are, I just want the next promotion, or I just, I want that raise. Well, as soon as you hit it, you move the goalpost, right? I need the next one. I need the next one. And it's because they are external motivators. You never get to the point where you say to yourself, I love me because. And so until you actually get to that point where you can say to yourself, I love me because, you're going to constantly searching for more, more, more. Then I add to that, if you are retired and you don't have those, bigger, better, faster, more things that you're trying to achieve, you lose kind of just that motivation just in general of like, okay, well, what am I trying to do? And that's where actually giving back becomes much more important, and that recognition that I am part of society and it's important for me to give back and make a difference and find my passion than all of those external motivators were during the earlier part of your career.
Oh, excellent. That's exactly where I am. I'm in my 60 plus, and yes, I've found my passion about the senior care reform, and
Mhm.
because of what happened to my parents on separate occasions and other people, that I found a gap. I found a gap that needs to be closed, that needs to be fixed in our society. Yeah, so that's where I am more so. That's more important to me now than making a real estate deal. I still like making the real estate deals. They come along, but man, I'm not out here knocking on doors and looking for deals. My
Yeah.
main focus is giving back to society. And if I can make some money elsewhere on my real estate stuff, fantastic.
And how does that feel differently for you?
Um, well, interesting because you asked that because my profession, I've always been known as Jackie Perry, Jackie Perry, Jackie Perry. And so that's what it's on my real estate card is Jackie Perry, Jackie Perry. But my book, Caregiver Caretakers, is Jacklyn Ryan. That's my author name. That's my married name is Jacklyn Perry Ryan. So,
Mhm.
we could switch one way or the other. And in fact, I'm sponsoring a hole at a golf tournament this weekend, and I put my Jackie Perry because it's hosted by Simplicity Real Estate. Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw my Jacklyn Ryan Caregiver Caretaker card in there too.
Right?
Dual personality here. So I'm seriously in transition. I mean, more people are getting to know me as Jacklyn Ryan, and why do I want to hang on to Jackie Perry? Because I've been Jackie Perry for so long. It's
Yes,
my
right.
maiden name. It's my professional name, Jackie Perry, Jackie Perry. And so whether people introduce me as Jackie Perry Ryan, Jacklyn Ryan, but we've got a governor here named Sarah Huckabee Sanders. So
Mhm.
that's a mouthful too. So, however we got to present ourselves in whatever situation, I guess. Hmm?
The interesting thing that's coming up for me too is just that comparison of maybe Jackie Perry was the person who reached out all the time because that was part of her MO, right? You did that for work all the time. You were constantly connecting with people. But Jacqueline Ryan doesn't want to have to reach out anymore. Wants to have real connections with people that are different than the ones before.
Oh, I like that. I'm glad this is being recorded. I need to listen to this more. I know we probably need to wrap up a little bit. Um, what's one myth society tells us that you want more people to stop believing? What's one myth society sells us that you want people to stop believing?
I think for me, the number one thing, the most important thing that anybody can do is define for themselves what their definition of success is. Because I think that the one that we've been sold about the American dream also assumes that if you are not continuing to push, you are not achieving the American dream. The American dream assumes that you are pushing at all times. And so, what I want people to do is like that's a myth. Then you can be successful in any way that you define it for yourself, and that is okay. And so I would love for people to just look in the mirror and say, what is my definition of success, and actually write it down, because a lot of people don't have any idea what theirs is. They just sort of go along thinking they know what it is, but until you write it down,
Oh,
that
that,
myth is going to be out there for you forever.
yes, yes. Back in my 20s, when I was young woman in Dallas by myself, my little efficiency apartment, reading my success magazines. Yes, I was goal setting, goal writing. I was doing that in my 20s, and I don't do that anymore. My goals have changed, shifted, but you know, I'm going a different path. So very
Mhm. Mhm.
um, Becca, on Ripples Rising, we talk about creating waves of change. What one small ripple could someone create this week that might completely change the direction of their life?
I'm going to double down on the defining your own definition of success. And this is, for me, my definition is to make a kick living doing what I love, which is helping people change their lives, right? So there is no goal necessarily in there. I do have a vision that I'm going to touch 10,000 people with one tidbit of information that changes the way they think. But this isn't like I'm driving every single day to, I have metrics and goals and things like that. It really is, am I living the life that I want to live? Can I walk my dog for an hour of the day every single day? Yes. Those types of things for myself.
Mm,
Very different than I need to be a CEO by the time I'm 39.
that's powerful. That's powerful. Get real with yourself, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. For
And
sure.
we're chasing all the diamonds in the sky, and okay, got that one. Let me go to the next one. Well, stop it. When is it enough for you? When's it
Who are
enough
you?
for you?
Yeah. Who are you trying to prove it to? What are you trying to prove and who are you trying to prove it to?
Oh, yeah. That's powerful. You've got to prove it to yourself
Hmm.
more than your spouse, your parents, or anybody. And it's
Yep.
like I feel like I could never do enough because I was a woman and not a guy. Like I have an older
Mm.
brother, and my
Mhm.
dad, my dad is old fashioned. Like, when are you going to produce me a grandson? We're and then he didn't know what to do with me because I didn't produce anything because I'm busy. I'm busy working. I'm busy working one way or the other. I inherited the farm after he
Right.
passed, and I work cattle, and I'm in the pen. I'm giving a penicillin shot to a cow. You know, I mean, I got stuff going on. I can do about as much as a man can do. You know, I mean,
Right.
physically, I'm a little weaker after 60, but I do.
Right.
It makes me happy. It makes me happy to be out on the land and soil and the cows and stuff like that. And yeah, you got to live for your own expectations and quit trying to chase what you're trying to prove to your parents. It's very
Yeah.
important. It's very
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Becca, how can somebody get a hold of you? Your book and email and all.
Yeah. The best way to get a hold of me is actually to go to morebeccapearce.com. There are other Becca Pierces out there in the world. And if you go to either Becca Pearce or Rebecca Pearce, they're both coaches and it's not me. So morebeccapearce.com is the way to find me. And you can find my book on there. You can find my speaking engagements. You can find how to coach with me, all sorts of stuff on there.
Spell it out for us because there's different
Yep.
ways of spelling Pierce.
Thank you very much. So more Becca Pearce. Becca is Becca and Pierce is Pearce, not Pie. Not going to pierce you through the heart.
Excellent, excellent. Any last words to wrap up here?
I think the most lovely thing that you're doing here about the ripples rising is just finding this space where what people don't realize is that just the smallest ripple makes the biggest difference, right? It just will continue out and out and out. So once you find that, expand it.
There you go. We'll make a tidal wave at the end.
Exactly.
I'm Jacklyn Ryan with Ripples Rising, empowering voices, creating waves of change. Check us out on YouTube at Ripples Rising TV, and we'll sign off. Have a great day.